And she did. Yeah. Yeah. Got just a bit of a problem here. I have to take care of this. Just hold on. What do I want to do? Why didn't that work?
What's it like?
I am trying. It should have gone, but it's not going. I don't know why.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to start the stream, which I should have
Oh.
done in the first place, but I forgot to do that. And I just. Oh, well, okay, fine. All right, I guess it's going. Okay, so I guess I don't need to do anything. All right, so back to you. Yeah, the idea of the automatic mind. Yeah, Frankenstein, of course. The automatic man. There were, well, yeah, Fritz Lang's Metropolis, I think, were the first, a very early depiction on screen. Yeah, a Clockwork Man. so,
Woman, yeah.
so yeah, I mean that's been a theme throughout science fiction. Certainly, I read a lot of science fiction when I was a kid too.
There are some memes online of the automaton from Metropolis kind of getting together with C3PO.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, yeah. Uh, the themes that, yeah, you know, if you have created an artificial intelligence that is as close to human as possible, you know, that gets into like the Turing test, doesn't it?
Right.
You know, is it the same thing as human consciousness? You know, and
Have you ever
people
heard of
are.
this cartoon Eighth Man? I used to love this cartoon when I was a kid. I was like, 11 years old, called Eighth Man. It was a Japanese animation on TV in the afternoons, at the same time as Astro Boy and Speed Racer, but I didn't like them nearly as much. And Eighth Man was supposed to be the eighth generation of robots that could pass for human. That was the whole
Oh,
premise. And I thought it was really cool when I was a
oh,
kid.
all right. Yeah, never heard of that. Huh. Yeah. Well, that's also when people talk about the singularity, what happens when you get a artificial intelligence that's more advanced than humans and then can then go on to design and create and build intelligences that are even more intelligent still. that's that's been an interesting thought experiment as well. I'm
Have
not
you
sure we'll ever get a good answer to any of these, of course.
have you read any of the Frank Herbert's son? I guess is Bruce Herbert, and he wrote a prequel to Dune. No, I think a series of prequels. Have you read any of those or heard anything about
No,
them?
I've never read the Dune books.
But that's the whole prequel. I mean, that's the whole premise of the prequels is that a whole there's a whole range of possibility of human beings who have their consciousness stored in a kind of a capsule, which can then be transferred to a new body. And then there are uh, beings who are pure robot, but who are so far advanced that they consider human life a kind of impediment, an embarrassing obstacle to be destroyed, to be eliminated. Yeah, and so all these different, and then there's the Bene Gesserit witches who are trying to save humanity using their advanced telekinetic powers, and but they're all of their origins are. I thought it was really in some ways better than Dune. He's had
Oh,
like his son had more time to fill in the gaps and weave it all together more seamlessly.
I remember watching the David Lynch movie back in the day.
Oh yeah, with Kyle MacLachlan, right?
Yeah, that's yeah, that's the only thing I remember about Dune though.
Did you ever read the book, the original book?
No, no, I never read.
Oh, it's really, I mean, I can see how it blew people away because it does something unique. It
Uh,
really, I mean, for one thing, it does something that not too many people do anymore. Most books nowadays, there's so much necessity about the money, about grabbing an audience that they have to grab you from the first chapter and hold on to you and not let you go. But in Dune, it's really like three completely separate stories, and it kind of goes back and forth between the three stories, and they kind of merge. Um,
hmm.
so it doesn't really get off to that much of a start. You have to read the first 100 pages before it really. It's one of those kind of stories that it starts off really slow and then it builds up, and then like the last few hundred pages you can't put it down. And it's all about future history that it's sometime in the future where humanity has, but it doesn't even go into. I mean, it's sometime like 20,000 years in the future, but that's not even important. But humanity has spread all over the galaxy, and they don't even know or remember that Earth is the point of origin. Earth is like, I mean, like Kenya, like Olduvai Gorge. Who remembers, right? Do people go to Kenya to study the origins now? So
Yeah, yeah, I've heard it's one of the all-time classics of science fiction. Yeah.
One of my favorite books ever.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
oh, Dune,
Love
yeah.
it. Yep.
So
Yeah,
wasn't
more
there
of
a new version, Anya? Wasn't there a new version of Dune? Have you seen the new version, the new film version or series of Dune?
No. Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
You mean a TV show? I heard they were making a TV show. Maybe it's already out. I don't know.
I don't
Did
think
you
it's out
read,
yet.
Anya, did you read any of the sequels, or Margot, did you read any of the sequels to Dune?
I couldn't get through Dune,
Oh, you couldn't get
but
through it?
I'm more of a Heinlein type of fan. Like I like my stuff.
Stranger in a Strange Land?
Yeah, I like my stuff a little bit more artistic. Than Dune is very dry. I found Dune to be very dry and hard to get through.
I liked Heinlein, but I found it really difficult sometimes. His portrayals of women seemed absurd to me, and I thought, I mean, how do you feel about that as a woman?
I like him. I
Yeah.
think that he's very, yeah, it's very of the times. And when you read it of the
Right,
times,
right.
yeah, but I mean,
Kind of
it's,
like you Hefner writing science fiction or something.
yeah, but it's good. Like, yeah, I like Heinlein, and that's my go-to science fiction guy.
Oh,
Ursula Le Guin and Heinlein, and
Ursula Gwen, right?
yeah,
So you read Left Hand of Darkness and what was that other
The
really
Lathe of
famous one?
Heaven,
There was another
and
one. Oh shoot, I can't remember the name.
Dispossessed.
The Dispossessed, right? Of
That's
course.
my favorite. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite books, The Dispossessed.
Oh really? Even more than Left Hand of Darkness?
Even more than Left Hand of Darkness.
Yeah. Oh, she's such a good writer, though.
She is. She was.
I mean, some writers have a great idea, but then the dialogue and the characterization is kind of weak. But hers are really good. She could write about anything.
If you liked her, you'd like Octavia Butler as well.
Oh right.
Also,
Yeah, I read some of hers.
Yeah.
She deals with the whole problem of telepathy. What was that song? Wasn't there a song in the 70s? Communication is the problem to the answer. She
Yeah.
deals with that whole aspect of it, right?
Yep.
That telepathy could be excruciating. Well, I suppose in like a Next Generation, Counselor Troy is always going through agony because something has invaded her mind and she can't get it out, right?
She's a beta Z.
Right. But I mean that's a good point. What if we have because there are scientists who say that we had our primates have an undeveloped language center in their brain, and that we had that, our ancestors had that, and that it became bigger and stronger over time, right? Well, what if we have an undeveloped telepathic potential part of our brain that is dormant and it just requires stimulation, electrical or chemical or something, and practice, and that it would be as real as a cell phone, I mean, not, they've done studies of telepathy where, they have a special kind of a card deck and two people in two different rooms, and 7% accuracy is extraordinary. And there are some people who can consistently get 7%, whereas most people get 2%, and that's like that's about what you would expect from random chance, right? So, but what if you could, through practice and, like I said, stimulation of that part of the brain, make it stronger and able to communicate with 100% accuracy? Well, what would you do if you couldn't you had a cell phone in your brain that is trying to sell you, white wall, steel belted radials, and you can't shut it out?
That would be the ultimate hell.
Oh, right, yeah.
But the good part of it would be just superb if you could effortlessly let other people into yourself and into themselves. It would be really nice.
Right, you'd have a collective soul. You would have a genuine collective soul where you're never lonely.
I think Douglas Adams did that in Hitchhiker's Guide as well,
Right.
didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
That was my impression of Octavia Butler, that she deals with that whole aspect.
Yep.
And I'd never encountered anybody actually thinking about that before.
Which book does she talk about that? Because I haven't read her, but I want to read her.
Yeah.
I think it's the Seed series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having trouble recalling the exact name of the books, but it's the Seed series.
Parable of the Sower.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yes.
I haven't read too much Butler. I wouldn't mind doing a book reading group somehow. There's a lot of stuff I've always wanted to read, not just science fiction, but other stuff too.
You should come to our Thomas Pynchon's We're Reading Gravity's Rainbow.
Oh no!
Yeah.
You talk about you couldn't get through Dune. I couldn't get through Gravity's Rainbow.
No way. No way.
Difficult book, but it's great on so many levels because it really makes
It was frustrating. It was frustrating to me.
Great.
There were parts that were interesting to me, but I had no idea what it had to do with the overall story. It was. I mean, one point it's World War II, and there's a kinky general doing weird things, and then the next scene there's something about sour balls or something. I mean, what God's name's going on?
He's a pretty transgressive writer, that's for sure. But it's good. It's good, right?
I think that's a case of where someone is drifting in between fantasies and dreams and hallucinations and reality, and you don't know which is which. I mean, I think they should tell you, and then something. And then I woke up and I went to work, and I.
What's the fun in knowing? I like books that I can chew on.
Yeah. No, that's an artistically valid choice, is to not let you in on what's really going on. It's up for grabs. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. It's like, well, did Hamlet really see the ghost of his father?
That's a good
Is there an
point.
answer to that question? Was that a real ghost of his father?
Does it matter?
It's up to you.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's very meta.
What was really happening? Did Alice really go to Wonderland? I mean, I mean, I don't think it improves the story. They have a real answer to that.
Right.
The story's not better because you know the answer.
So you say that Automatic Kafka is a pretty straightforward storyline. Where is it going? Because I don't have the book. So where is it? What do 2 chapters convey to you?
Well, 2 chapters. Well, if we want to, I don't know how far we'll get. Like sometimes we didn't get very far at all through the From Hell chapters we did. So let's go through this if we can. And I won't forget your question. I promise. So I think most of this is mostly the reverie that AK is going through here. And we also get introduced to this guy. I believe he's the Warning, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Warning. And we get some more
Otherwise known as capitalism.
psychogeography. Yeah, we can go into some of the choices here. And we get a little bit of background into their superhero team, which were called the Strangers. I can't help but notice that logo is very, very similar to the Avengers logo.
Oh, yeah.
Strangers.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very similar, isn't it? The Strangers, but with the dollar sign for the S's.
Oh, yeah.
So we get a little bit of history here to the back of them, and some of this happened. And ever since they broke up, he's just been indulging in debauchery and no real direction. He's obviously very depressed and just acting out. And he goes up against his tech guy to get to him. Now here's the write up that happens at the back. You read some of this, but I only did the one half of it. You've been searching for a comic book like this, a well-layered thing that has been thought out and carefully constructed with the greatest care and precision. You read it in the description, but I only did that half. But the other half that I didn't do is this one. You should not be reading this comic book because it's hazardous to your mental health. If you like your comic books delivered with clarity and consistency, look elsewhere. This was written on handfuls of things swallowed by late at night. It was written to escape reality by recreating it in a thoroughly uncomfortable image. It was written to give the average fan cold sweats, nervous conniptions, and night terrors. This is dangerous, subversive material, completely unsuitable for children. It might be damaging for adults as well, perhaps more so. We've hacked this thing out with reckless abandon. There is no plan. There is no secret. We're making it up as we go along. This is a thing to be hurled into the void, uncertain of its final destination. If we can keep our readers at arm's length and at all times confused and frustrated, we've done our job. You see, it's pretty easy when you think about it. You take a bunch of so-called archetypes, tweak them so they seem almost original, then you slap a mature reader's label on the cover. Now they can swear, have unsafe sex, and overdose on all manner of narcotic substances. They can do things that most superheroes would never dare do. Add an obtuse script and 22 pages of murky, obscure artwork, and you've got a recipe for disaster. And let's not forget the million-dollar detail, complete nonsense. Automatic Kafka is a complete hoax. Its existence proves that we are the ultimate con artists. We fooled ourselves, our editor, our publisher, and now our readers. If you dare to invest yourself in the story we're telling, you've invested yourself in the biggest scam of the new century. There are no answers to be found here. Hell, we don't even care enough to ask the questions. Why should we? The check cleared.
Wow, nihilistic for sure.
Yeah, but they put the two of them side by side. It's totally your choice. Which one do you want? You
Right.
get to choose. You know, I mean, they're not going to make it easy for you in any way. They're just going to straight up tell you, you know, either this is a work of genius or it's not, and that's totally up to you to decide.
Well, to be honest, you know, they're making it up as they go along, and they're in it for the money. And if you know, like it, they'll make more. They'll make more. And if you don't like it, they'll make something else that grabs your attention. That's about as honest as you can be. They don't want to go back to whatever they were doing before they did this, working at the lumberyard or making lattes at Starbucks. They want to keep doing this. Has anybody seen this thing on Netflix, Midnight Madness?
No, what is it?
I don't know how to describe it.
Cartoon.
It's a cartoon. Have you seen it?
I've seen 2 episodes of it, yeah.
Me too. I've seen 2 episodes, right? I get the feeling that it's kind of it starts off as 2 people or 3 people having a kind of the stoned rap, you know.
It's from the podcast. They take,
oh, it's from the podcast? Really? It's a illustration of the podcast?
Yeah, they take the podcast audio and they animate it.
Oh, I had no idea. So the podcast is like, you can get it on Castbox or something?
Well, I don't know how. I haven't looked into it. But yeah, they take the podcast audio and they do the animated cartoon a version of it.
They hand it over to the animators. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get it on Castbox. I have an app called Castbox that gets podcasts.
I don't mind that. This gets into like the question of what is it we indulge in art for? Why do we consume art? Why do we partake in art? What is the goal? What are we supposed to do? Or is it supposed to teach us something? Is there a moral lesson, or it's just pure entertainment? Does anybody have an answer to that? That might be an interesting conversation. What do you I think there could be multiple answers.
I can't answer that. I make art, so I can't answer that for you.
I would answer that it expands my range. Maybe that's all I know.
Okay. Okay.
I can piggyback on other people's inspirations and
Okay.
fertilize myself.
Or maybe a little bit more clarified question would be, there are all sorts of different types of art. Like, for example, okay, when you see a Disney movie, it is different fundamentally from a Federico Fellini movie, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If you read James Joyce, it's not the same experience as reading Harry Potter.
No, right. And you don't expect it. You don't read James Joyce to get Harry Potter. You don't want Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, there's it comes down to the question I'm trying to get to is, what is the goal of art? A lot of times it is strictly to convey the story, whatever that might be. And it's just a straightforward, once upon a time, here's the story, and there's an ending. But that's not the same goal as, James Joyce or Federico Fellini. They're playing a different game. There's like a Jackson Pollock painting is not the same as a Rembrandt painting. They're two different traditions. They're attempting different things. They're attempting to accomplish a different effect in the audience. And then it becomes a question of, well, is one better, is one worse, or do you like it? Do you not like it? I don't think there's any way you can rationalize or systematize why we like art, or what a purpose of an artwork is supposed to be. Clearly, Stephen King has a goal in mind for what he wants his audience to get out of his work, which is not necessarily the same as Thomas Pynchon. It's not better or worse. It's just they are different goals.
Right. Well, if you're expecting one and get the other, you may be disappointed or even offended. Horrified. I mean, if you know what you're getting, and if you're, what's his name? Shoot, I can't remember the name. The French mime actor.
Marcel.
No, not Marceau. He was Earl back. Oh shoot, something with the Tati, Jacques Tati. Jacques Tati.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see anything by Jacques Tati?
Mm-mm. But I've heard of.
Yeah, and he did something called Playtime, right? And I remember seeing it like 25 years ago, right? And I was saying, well, okay, this is going to be some kind of intellectually stimulating movie, right? And it's like, there are incidental scenes for the introduction of a movie, right? So it's doing that, and it's showing some credits kind of very slowly and spread out. I'm kind of like, throwing my fingers on the armrest. Okay, these are nice scenes, but there's no characters, there's no dialogue. When's the movie going to start? And it doesn't. That's the whole movie. And if you like that kind of thing, it's 90 minutes, and and if you watch it, and then you start saying, once your brain stops complaining and you kind of resign yourself, you can say, well, I'm going to leave. I'm going to say, okay, let's stay. And the scenes are kind of interesting in themselves, and it's Paris. And one scene kind of leads to almost like Richard Linklater. One scene leads to the next, which leads to the next, which leads to the next, and it doesn't really let you go, but it doesn't seem to have any kind of story arc or subtext or narrative at all. And I love it. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again, but I was expecting something else. And at the time, part of my brain rebelled and said, no, 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 this is not how you make a movie.
Yeah.
Or even did you ever see any of the Katsi movies, Koinas Katsi, Naga Katsi, or Power Katsi? Did you ever see any of those?
Koyana Scotzi, I saw.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there were 2 sequels, but it's the same thing. If you love time lapse film, well, this is an orgy of time lapse film. But if you're expecting some kind of actor being heroic and having to save the world.
Yeah, I always say, you don't condemn work for not accomplishing what it's not trying to accomplish.
Right.
You take a work on its own terms. It wasn't attempting to be a strict narrative, then don't consider it in that way. If it's a tone poem, if it's more of emotional reverie, more of a vignettes, then don't criticize it for not, being like something like The Godfather, where it's telling a story.
The other thing can work the other way too. I remember when I was in college, hearing about The Hobbit, hearing all these great things about The Hobbit, and I read The Hobbit, and I was expecting some kind of profound thing, and it's about these they're trying to it's kind of a fairy tale, and that's really all it is. It's a well done fairy tale, but you're expecting something profound. And I mean, it's saying some things about power, that even a hobbit, and hobbits are the least power mad, ambitious people and creatures in the world. But even a hobbit, Frodo puts that ring on once too often, he's got to go. He's been poisoned by power.
I think art is really interesting in that all an artist wants to do, whether it be writer, no matter the media, musicians aren't excluded either, is to have an intimate communication with its receiver. And that sometimes those receivers are the world, sometimes those receivers are targeted at specific people, but the artist wants to have an intimate conversation with its audience. And that is the goal of art, is to make you think, and it's not going to always be to all people, and it's sometimes going to be to just the outsiders. Sometimes it's going to be to a huge audience of teenagers, but those are the intimate conversation that artist wants to have with its audience. And so it's telling a story, but it's telling a story from its standpoint. And that's kind of the beauty of art, is that not all people will like all art. And sometimes an artist just creates things just because it pleases themselves, and they're only having a conversation with themselves. And that's okay too. The point of art is to have
Man is an island.
Intimate conversation. And so I'm a ceramic artist, so I like ceramics because I can have intimate conversations with people 400 or 500 years from now who might pick up a cup of mine that I've made, and it transcends hundreds and hundreds of years. So I mean, art is an intimate conversation, and whether or not you're open to receiving that communication or not, that's up to you. And there are all sorts of forms of beautiful and not so beautiful art. I would argue that Disney and Pixar do make really artistic films. If you've never seen the dream sequence from Monsters, Inc., you're really missing a really brilliant piece of art, and how we connect with other people and how we connect in our psyches and in our mind. And it's actually a really beautiful piece of art. But that's just a digression. Sorry.
I would go along with that.
Well, that was good. That was a good digression. Digress more.
I would go along with that. I really would. I've seen almost all Pixar movies. That Monsters, Inc. I have not seen.
Oh, you have to see it.
I know. No, I've been meaning to.
Good.
It's been on my list to get
Very
to that.
good.
No, it's been on my list to get to that. I think I have the DVD somewhere.
It's actually beautiful. It's actually a very, very beautiful, beautifully.
No, I see. I've seen all Pixar movies. I'll get around to it sooner or later. I'll get around to it. I will. Yeah.
But I like this.
The
reason why I bring that up is this automatic Kafka, and the art that it's portraying is very,
it's very Banksy sort of
Yeah.
anti-establishment, very anti-capitalist artistic slant to me. And so I think that that's what Ash Wood is trying to communicate to us, is that we need to get rid of a lot of the iconography that we have and kind of think about that and why that's important to us and why our eyes are drawn to that even during this comic. So I think that that's an interesting, I think that the art in this is really brilliant in that way.
I certainly do as well. I'm a big fan of, Bill Sienkiewicz and Dave McKean and people like that. I'm a big fan of non-traditional, non-representational, experimental artwork. It's certainly, I think this stuff is beautiful. I really do. I like it I like it enough that I wonder what else he's done. No, I think I might look up what else he's done, because I think this is really, really brilliant.
So far for me, it's better than the dialogue. I'm not sold on the dialogue yet. I'm trying to understand and follow along with the dialogue, but I feel like the dialogue is mediocre to the art. It's just me. I think the art tells the better story.
Yeah, as I was saying, I do think it's a fairly straightforward plot from what I'm able to tell. AK, our main guy, is just depressed, and he's about to be recruited here for this new mission, and they get a hold of him. He's just just a bum, a drunk, and a addict, and so here is the warning, getting briefed on the situation. There's something going on here. It's a pretty straightforward story. So
that's almost a cliche, the Blade Runner, out of work, rogue, maverick, agent being recalled back for one more mission.
Yeah. All right.
What did they mean in the write-up about taking kind of archetypes and bending them a little bit? What archetypes do you recognize here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could go one by one. I mean, okay, so if you've got, I guess you've got the android archetype. I mean, I was mentioned.
The soldier of fortune archetype. Even
that makes sense.
Mad Max, the same kind of.
Right, I see. Renegade, kind of.
Renegade.
Mm-hmm. Lost.
Or even
Lost
from Casablanca. Rick from Humphrey Bogart as Rick from Casablanca. I don't stick my neck out for no one. That kind of. But in an emergency situation, he comes through red, white, and blue.
Yeah, he's an anti-hero kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I think
death as a woman. Death archive as a sexy woman. That's kind of a twist.
I guess so. Yeah. So I mean, if you read, as I was mentioning, if you read a history of science fiction, the robot figure is itself a type of an archetype. I mentioned, Marvin the Paranoid Android in Hitchhiker's Guide, but in its own way, I would point to Mr. Spock in Star Trek. I mean, he's not a robot, but he fulfills the same archetype, I would say.
Yeah. Kind of logic and
the logic, the unfeeling, unhuman brain archetype. Yeah. And if you do look at the history of superhero comics, I mean, I'm going to assume there's not a huge background of history, but there have been robot superheroes going all the way back. In the Avengers, there's the Vision, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of them. There's the Red Tornado in
Yep.
Justice League. So there are robot superheroes. So that's obviously been an arc. And in those cases, they've always been treated as just another member of the team, one way or another. So so here we got, I mean, more of them. So we've got the Constitution, patriotic. That's like the Captain America, the patriotic, or even the Nick Fury, like the war hero, the soldier. You know, fighting for for their country. You know, their motivation. We've got Helen of Troy, feminine powers of mystery. You know, the traditional stereotype of the female superhero, Wonder Woman. You know, or you know, the what do you call it? The femme fatale. You know, the seductress. You know, that sort of thing.
Mm.
Saint Nick, brooding anti-hero. There we go. Automatic Kafka, morphing mecha soldier. Yeah, that's definitely an archetype. Okay, so more background, more briefing, and I guess they make a deal here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really just a couple of pages here of these two characters talking in a business room, but you give him credit for at least making it visually interesting. You know, it's yeah, like you're saying, it's not boring to look at, but yeah, it's just a lot of exposition here. But at least it's interesting to look at. Yeah. Okay, so they drop. All right. Oh, they dropped this bomb, specialized bomb, in Iraq, I guess. a baby device, baby shaped device or something. Now he's going for this new technique, going into this amusement park, one of those spinner things where they spin you around to get another hit of this. And he goes into this, and he's doing it again. It's like any addict. Like, you know, this is hurting you, but you can't stop, and you know this is self-destructive, but you just keep doing it. This is just sheer addiction right now. You know, it's going to kill him eventually if he keeps this up. But obviously, he's not caring about that. And now life is coursing through my veins. He's just going for the high here. A new freedom. No first kisses. No virginity. No chastity. No vagrancy. Cannot stand still anymore. Yeah. He's just doing anything. Have I found the ultimate high? Is this the limit of my experience? Is there nothing more I can feel except the boundaries of this heightened sensation? Clean and sober, why? I'm artificial. But this feeling, it's real. Finally, something real. Finally. End task. Yeah. And he snaps off. It's going way too fast. And then they're getting him here, confronting him. You has-beens are no longer the people's heroes. You've been replaced by DVD and the internet. Your CPU is vulnerable to a non-linear tapeworm that will steal your memories and turn them into ATM pin numbers. Just scratching. Okay. And we get this new character, Agent Travers, who's going to recruit him into the new mission here, and that's where we end. Okay, so yeah, I would say this is a fairly straightforward plot, it seems to me, but the yeah, like Margot was saying, the style is everything here. The you know, it's what's that phrase? It's not the song, it's the way it's been sung, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The song may be nothing, but you can do something with, you know, the presentation of it.
Right. I think the Russian theater drama teacher Stanislavski once said, there are no small parts, just small actors. That theoretically, a good actor can take any part, could be selling ice cream on TV, on a TV commercial, and do it with such passion that it's you know, a masterpiece.
You know, that reminds me, there was a show called The Young Ones. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that show. They did a bit with that. what you're talking about?
Oh, really? What they do?
Oh, it was just this one, in the middle of the show, there was this one part that literally, the part was a walk-on, and he had very literally 4 lines, this character. But he walks on, and he makes the most of those 4 lines. He does everything he possibly can to take the maximum amount of drama out of those 4 lines that he has. And by the time he's finished with the 4 lines, he walks off and gets a standing ovation from the studio audience because he did so well. And it was obviously a joke, but I might be able to find it. I don't know. Just makes me laugh.
I think they call that upstaging. That's how stars are born, though, you know?
Yeah, that was the whole
point.
One
has a bit part, and it just stands out. And
yeah, that was the whole point.
There's a very funny scene from, of all places, Wayne's World 2, where Wayne and Garth are trying to get someplace in a hurry, and they're lost, and they go into a gas station, and they ask the guy, the mechanic, for directions, and he's not bad, but he's, you know, telling the directions, and then Wayne, he just looks out at the audience and says, "Can't we do better than this?" And then some stagehands come out and have you seen this, Anya? Take the actor away who's playing the mechanic. Take the actor away who's playing the mechanic, and in walks Charlton Heston. I mean, for like this little 2-minute thing, Charlton Heston, and then Charlton says, "Oh, well, you know, Hester Street. Oh, yeah, I remember Hester." I mean, he's time stands still for these 2 minutes that he's on the camera. Time stands still. He's talking about, "Oh, yeah, I knew a girl once on Hester Street, but that was a long time ago." "Oh, Hester Street. Oh, the 2 blocks to the south." And then, you know, and then Garth and Wayne are looking at him like, with, you know, their tears are coming down their eyes. Thank you.
Agony.
Yeah, well, that gets into the other thing of, you know, art should be not a passive experience. You should bring something to the table. You know, it should be a collaboration. You know, I mean, I think William Burroughs said there's three minds involved. There's the work of art itself, there's yours, and when you combine them together, you get a third mind between the two of you that's created. That's something that neither of the two could have created alone. You're collaborating with the work and interpreting it and perceiving it and coming up with something brand new.
Right. In theater, you have the protagonist in ancient Greek theater, in the agora, and the, you know, with stones and open space. There was the protagonist, and there was the antagonist, and there's you, the audience, in between. And so some kind of new thing is occurring with you, the audience. There's thesis, and there's antithesis, antithesis, and then there's a spontaneous act of creation going on, synthesis, between the flux, the dynamic tension between thesis and antithesis.
Believe I got it.
Okay.
Well, I was worried that we wouldn't be able to hear the front doorbell, so I thought I'd pep it up a bit. Well, I call it totally irresponsible. Fancy coming round and ringing the doorbell at this time of night. Hey, I bet whoever it is will be pretty shocked when they find us still up.
Puff, puff, splutter. Pour an exploding front door. Stone the crows. The missus will never believe this un.
What do you want?
I have a parcel for a Mr. J. Bolowski. Special delivery.
Piss off, postie!
Sign here. Much obliged, I'm sure. And now, here is your package.
Oh, thank you.
How was that, Paul? Was I all right?
Okay,
Wow.
that's what I was saying.
Right back.
It was just the postman, and it just like 4 lines. Yeah, had nothing at all to do with the rest of the show. I mean, he was just there to deliver the package, but that was the most dramatic reading of those 4 lines you could imagine. Anyway,
Thanks for pulling that up. That was an interesting interlude.
I just remembered that. Yeah, that was a good show. That was a good show. Yeah, I mean, I don't think narratively that this is very experimental a story. Maybe, from what I can tell so far, we'll have to see. I mean, there may be surprises to come. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think this is intriguing enough to keep my interest. I've heard good things about this. A lot of people have. I think it's a minor cult hit.
The name is very provocative.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, why is he called Automatic Kafka? You can imagine
Right.
the automatic part, but why is he named that?
Right.
Not really
Right.
sure.
Unless they're referring to, metamorphosis or one of the other Kafka works. Who
Maybe,
knows? We don't know yet.
maybe. Yeah. Yeah, obviously this isn't a straightforward superhero Marvel DC style. They're not playing that particular game.
Thank
Well, we'll have to see. We don't know yet. But yeah, good start, I think. And it's short. It's not. It's only 9, so I think we can do. I'm guessing we can do it in about 3 weeks, beginning to end.